There's in the 2024 preseason with a perfect mark. Now it's on to the regular season. In baseball, the Cubs win another series while the White Sox actually won a game on the left coast. Yay! We'll preview the AFC South in the 2024 Tennessee Titans with Miss Lauren Walsh from WSMV TV in Nashville, Tennessee. And our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, returns for the latest sports media news, headlines, and other nuggets from the world of entertainment. That and a whole lot more. It's the Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. Starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, the kids and the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you full ability and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you to get Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, excuse me, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, just head up to Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and give it the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we'll be providing you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. As said in the teaser, we continue our divisional previews with Miss Lauren Walsh from WSMV in Nashville and the AFC South. Of course, we got our Christine Manika from KXRB joining us as well. Also, too, we have a surprisingly late firing in baseball. We'll talk about that. Also, too, is a recently retired first baseman and first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. But first, Sid, the Bears, they finished up their 4-game preseason 4-0 with a very solid win against the Chiefs. You didn't see Caleb Williams, Romaduzzi already of the starters, but the second stringers and the third stringers, guys that are trying to play for their jobs and whatnot. You saw them in and around, and a 34-21 win over the Chiefs. You didn't see Pat Mahomes and Kelsey and them either. So, in fairness, Tyson Bagent for the Bears threw for 57 yards. Brett Rippon threw for 106 yards. Bayless Jones trying to make a case to be part of the 53-man, 111 yards and a rushing TD for him. Tyler Scott, and a nice showing there on the offensive side. The defense, some of the second stringers on defense there as well. So Jonathan Owens had a solid game. Don't call him Mr. Simone Biles. He's a pretty solid defender himself. But
all right,
yeah. Yeah,
that.
yeah, please don't. But yeah, but so yeah, what did you think? Did you saw any of the game yesterday? Because I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of the game yesterday because I knew that none of the stars we playing. These are more for like kind of showcase guys trying to get into that 53 man. But even still, what you think?
I saw some of the highlights and I was very impressed on what the Bears did. They were professionals. They went out there and did their job. And like you said, some of those guys that were on the borderline of making the 53-man roster, whether it's here with the Bears or someone else, they played their hearts out last night. But I want to talk to you about Velus Jones first. You mentioned 13 carries for 111 yards. His longest run was 39 yards early in the game, and he scored a touchdown. I think he has made the case for him to stay with this team. Now, does he make it as a wide receiver or does he make it as a running back? I think he'll make it as a wide receiver, but I think new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron can use him as your quote unquote slash Cordell Stewart type role. You can put him in the backfield at times, so you use him as that fourth or fifth wide receiver and use him on an occasional gadget plays. I think that's what they're going to do with Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what if he does. I'm sure they are gonna. Yeah, I'm sure he is gonna stay in the 53 man, but it'll be interesting to see what how Shane Waldron uses him as in part of that offense. But another thing that kind of was interesting was a lot of the defensive guys. I mean, some of those, like we talked about, some of the other guys trying to make a case for folks there. He still, he stayed to Matt Eberflus credit. He kept blitzing the Chiefs, that they blitz so many times, you kind of think, okay, what exactly are you trying to pull here? But yeah, I mean, look, they looked good. I will say this: the Bears, the second and third stringers. I mean, the only thing is, like, you can only keep so many. You can also only keep so many as part of your practice squad. So there's going to be a lot of guys on the market there now. As far as the quarterbacks, do they take three quarterbacks? Do they take Brett Rippon, who had a solid showing there? Or do they just take two with him and Bajan? Austin Reed looked really good too, but it's kind of hard to say, to make case for some of these guys knowing that they're not placing number ones. So you kind of have to like, okay, yeah, they're playing for roster spots and whatnot. So yeah, okay, yeah, the Bears are undefeated in the preseason first time. I guess you could probably say, I guess what, Tom Waddle was there as a top. That's probably how long ago it's been. So it really doesn't mean anything. So we'll see. Because remember the Chiefs are actually with 0-3 in preseason. So I think they're going to be okay. So I think you really can't make any assumptions either way. But some really decent. There's some other teams. Once the Bears do their final cuts and stuff, a lot of these teams are going to be up for. That's the only bad part about showcasing all these guys is because a lot of these guys are trying to get, not only if not get into the Bears roster, but some of the other 53 mans as well.
You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina here with you on the hashtag Football Friday, the Bears Victory Friday, as the Bears conclude their four-game preseason with a 34-21 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Lakina, we talked about GM Ryan Pace for the Bears, fleecing Carolina for those draft picks and picking up certain guys in free agency over the last couple of years. Can we finally, at least for now, I want to put the total cart before the horse, but can we give him props of building depth on this roster? I know a couple of years ago when he first got here, there was no depth. You were trying to clean out the mess from the Matt Nagy era. Last year, you were starting to build this thing. Now you have, it looks like, at least on paper, you have a foundation. And you talk about how many guys they can keep. This is not college football. You can keep everybody on scholarship. Some guys you don't have to let go. But let's give GM Ryan Poles credit for building depth on his roster. For the guys that they had to cut and let go, they could play on other teams, be on practice squads, or else be third stringers or second stringers on other teams.
Yeah, I think but that also that's what the flip side of all that depth is because you're not gonna be able to keep everybody. So that really is gonna be another thing as well. So yeah, give him credit for building a foundation and getting a lot of depth. But unfortunately, the flip side is that this isn't college. You can't keep everybody. So that's another the bad part about it. But then again, look, you gotta wonder like some of these guys are going to be probably going to be out in the open market. Some of them um whether or not Bayless shows part of the 53 man or not. John Jackson the third had a pretty solid showing yesterday on defense on the receiving side. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like if which names are going to be, because I think there's some names are going to be surprising. Yes, guys like Tyler Scott and Austin Reed, yes, they kind of played their way in, but you got the other guys will probably be shown the door as well. So yeah, I mean, it's good, but also at the same time, then yeah, unfortunately, you're going to get other teams, especially if you end up playing those other teams, they're gonna take it personally. So that's one of the flip sides of all this. But it is what it is.
We have a couple minutes left before we break for the bottom of the hour. I want to go over a couple of positions battles with you. If the Bears do decide to keep two quarterbacks, three quarterbacks, who's out? Me personally, I think is Austin Reed. I know he's a nice story. If you're following Hard Knocks, we'll get into Hard Knocks later on in the show. But if the Bears decide to keep three quarterbacks, I think Austin Reed is out and Rippett is in, even though he kind of struggled last night. Tyson Baju, I think the second spot was his to begin with. He played like it last week against the Bengals, having those two touchdown drives in the second half last week. So I think the Bears will keep three quarterbacks. If that's the case, I think Austin Reed is out. What say you?
Yeah, I think he is. I think Reed is out, but again, this is one of those days where, but that's the thing about having multiple, a lot of depth, because there's gonna be some guys you're gonna have to say goodbye to. And look, they did showcase him a lot on Hard Knocks, especially in the last episode. Him and Beijing both. Well, we'll get to that because that was hilarious with his Tyson's dad. But yeah, I mean, I think he is probably gonna go to another one. Maybe the Raiders, or maybe somebody like that. So he'll probably end up going probably to one of those spots too. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, look, I think Rippin, just because if God forbid something happens to Williams, or if Bajan struggles, that's really, you're gonna need he is a seasoned pro, and of course, remember his uncle has a Super Bowl. So, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, I think will they keep three though? That's gonna be another question too.
Now let's flip over to the defense. Daniel Hardy, number 92. I thought he had a great preseason, especially last week against Cincinnati. In the week before, as well. Dominic Robinson, one of the Ryan Post's first draft picks from a couple of years ago. He hasn't had a chance to get that many opportunities. I think he's the odd man out. It becomes between him and Hardy.
Yeah, I think that's really going to be the thing, that we really didn't see him a lot during the preseason. So that might be one of the reasons why we say adios to him. So, but yeah, he'll probably be the odd man out, I think.
And Josh Blackwell, number 39, who's been playing very well this preseason, especially the last 2 weeks. I think he's going to make the roster. He'll probably make it as a special teamer, but what he did, especially last week against Cincinnati, I was very impressed. He could definitely be a backup defensive back if having been Kyler Gordon or Jaquan Brisker goes down.
Yeah, he probably is going to be like an extra guy for somebody if he doesn't make the 53 man. So that'll be interesting too. And actually, a late trade, according to Tom Pelissero, I guess. The Bears traded a sixth rounder for the Seahawks linebacker Darnell Taylor. So a solid pickup, I guess. We know they were in on a Matthew Judon sweepstakes, so they didn't get him. Atlanta got him, so they got a guy who's just as good. For a sixth rounder for next year. So I guess they had depth there, but still, that pass rush is still going to be an issue. The O line is still an issue too. So for me, yeah, the Bears, they went undefeated, but there's still a lot of question marks, I think. So we'll have to wait and see.
Real quick before we break in a minute, you mentioned about the offensive line. Larry Borom went down with an injury last night. We don't know how long he's going to be out. Will they use one of those spots to pick up a young offensive lineman? It depends on how long Larry Borom's out. I know Larry Borom was a backup, but still, he's an integral part of your team. And the offensive line is going to be very important to protecting your rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams. So, do you think however long that Borom's out, they're going to use one of those backup offensive linemen to use one of their 53 spot on a 53-man roster till Borom gets back, whenever that is?
Yeah, hopefully it's not as serious. I saw that replay. I thought that was a tough injury. So hopefully it's not a long term one. But yeah, I think they are going to have to. But they brought all those O line guys on for a reason, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you better hope that it's not a long term injury. That maybe he misses maybe for the first few weeks at most.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Like you said, cut down. I believe it's Wednesday at 2:00 Chicago time. Mm-hmm. Of course, Hard Knocks will be over by then. I'm sure some of the guys who we expect to get cut will be on that episode, unfortunately, by then. So we'll see what happens as we look at the 2024 Chicago Bears roster taking shape.
All right, Sid, let's go to the diamond up next. Are the Cubs, do they still have a shot? The White Sox.
Milwaukee yesterday.
Yeah, and and also to the White Sox actually won a game in San Francisco. Whee! Okay, speaking of West, an AL West team decides to make a late managerial change, and
Why?
is a yeah. I got something to say about that deal coming towards the break, but and also to recently retire a veteran first baseman announced his retirement. Is he a Hall of Famer? Lakina McGee, City Brown. We'll have all that and more come next. Second Seed Sports on Sports on Chicago. Baseball talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and hashtag Friday Fun Edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow your shooting on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter, X, and here's going the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you as we now transition into talking Cubs, Sox, and the rest of Major League Baseball.
All right, going into the Cubs. The Cubs are, well, I guess you could say that they did the win 2 out of 3 against the Tigers. That Tuesday game really kind of did them in. They did come back and win 10-2, so that definitely helps them there. They do play the Marlins in down in South Florida starting tonight. So it'll be interesting to see, like, Miguel Amaya hit his first career grand slam as he drove in 5 to take the series there against the Tigers. Do they still have a shot sit in that wild card? Is it still, like we've been saying, it's still very crowded, and as of right now, they're still 5.5 back.
Do they have a shot? Technically, yes. The only problem I have with this team is they're offensively challenged. That's a new term that we used on this show this year. They're offensively challenged, and they cannot put a nice long winning streak together. We did say they have to win series, and that's what they've been doing. But they cannot put a nice 6-game, 7-game, 8-game, or even a 9-game winning streak together. It's always win 2, 3, 4 in a row. I think the longest winning streak, I believe, is 5 games. I could be wrong, but we'll win 4 or 5 in a row, and then you lose 2 in a row. Then come back and win 3 in a row, then lose a couple in a row. This team has been consistently inconsistent all year. It's almost like a roller coaster. But as we said a million times, we'll say it a million more. Their starting pitcher, I'm talking about the Cubs, has been their strength. And it was proven once again yesterday, as you mentioned, by Justin Steele, 10 strikeouts, giving up 1 home run through 7 innings. He gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 were also earned. So Justin Steele pitched great yesterday. You got great pitching in this series for the most part, excluding Wednesday's debacle. But this Cubs team, I want to say they start to come together, but whatever shortcomings they have, you mentioned they played the Miami Marlins this weekend for 3 straight on the road. You should be able to sweep this team. I know that Justice Hill won't go with the series because he pitched yesterday, but you should still win this series if you're the Cubs. And also, too, I know they made a move earlier this week, designating now former closer Hector Neris for assignment. I think that has to do with something financial, but we'll get into that in a second. But we mentioned about the rest of that Cubs bullpen starting to pick it up. We'll see if they can do it against another sub 500 team on the road this weekend.
Yeah, and they really need to sweep because winning 2 out of 3. Look, you got to put in a good winning streak together, and if you're trying to be serious of getting one of those that last wild card spot. So the game against Shota struggled during that Wednesday game, and it was just not. He just didn't have his best stuff. And on the flip side, though, too, for the Cubs, I mean, they really didn't have their best stuff either offensively. So the problem is, like you said, so just we thought that maybe they figured out on one end, then they have different another end. So it's just one of those things where you're just like, what the heck is going on here? Why can't this team put together a nice 6, 7, 8 game winning streak if they are serious about trying to get back into it and try to make a case in that division? They got to jump up over like 5 teams before they get to that third wild card spot. Not to say that it's not impossible, but it just looks kind of it's very it's kind of a long shot at this point. You don't have a lot of games left, so there's really no room for error. Like you said, a sweep against the Marlins is a must. There's no 2 out of 3, or certainly not losing the series. So you got to win. You got to sweep in order to kind of at least get back into it, maybe gain a game or 2.
Even though the Cubs have one of the easiest schedules going down the stretch, you know as well as I do, Lakina, every year we see a couple of teams that are sub 500. They play on their schedule. They play against these teams that are contending for the playoffs. And what do? They play carefree and then knock off or alter the seeding of those teams that are heading toward the playoffs. So the Cubs, that's right, they were in that position last year. Guess what happened? You lost out in the playoffs, going to the playoffs by 1 game. This year is a little bit tougher, but can they do it? Of course. But as we said before, they just got to put one good streak together, winning 12 out of 14, 13 out of 16, something in that realm, because you just winning 3 in a row, then losing 2, then winning another 5, then losing 2. It's just not going to cut it, especially at this time of year.
It'll be interesting to see if they can do that. Again, like you said, no Steele since he pitched yesterday, but hopefully they should be able to win all 3 of these games and down in Miami. We'll see what happens there. Now, the White Sox, I mean, at least they avoided getting swept, so they won the Wednesday game thanks to Lennon Sosa and Corey Lee. They each had a couple RBIs, so yay! But I mean, the White Sox. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, you win. You're 31-97. You're just hoping and praying that these next 34 games are just like I don't know, but they play the Tigers. The Tigers, good thing for them. They'd have to travel. He's got to go across town to they play the White Sox starting tonight. So yay! At least you won one against San Francisco. Yeah.
And Garrett Crochet looked decent, pitching 4 innings, striking out 4 and walking 1. And we all know that he's on that pitch count, and he'll probably get shut down in a couple of weeks as we approach September. But unfortunately, he did not pick up the win. But the White Sox finally decided to score some runs in the late innings, 4 runs in the 9th inning to clinch the win. Yay! So, but as we said before, and we'll say it again, it's all about finding the talent, whoever's going to be on this team for next year. And Grady Sizemore, it looks like these guys are playing hard, but for him, it's all about keeping his job within that major league realm. Will he be the White Sox next manager? I don't think so, but will it be in the major league circle as a coach or a bench coach somewhere in the majors or in the minor league system? I think so. If this team shows that they can still fight and play competitive baseball.
Should be interesting to see what happens there. As the Tigers starting tonight, so it should be an interesting series as usual between those two. As you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Excuse me, the Kingdom of Sydney Brown with you. Let's start in the AL West and a very surprising firing. Scott Service was fired by the Mariners. He's actually the first manager in MLB history to have a 10-plus game lead in the division, for league, prior to 69. But then he got fired before the end of the season. So I don't know if there was. Look, I know the Mariners have not been playing very well lately. They're now 5.5 back in Houston, the AL West. No shade, Dan Wilson. We'll get to his story in a second, but it's just like, what? Huh?
My initial reaction was, why now? Is you have less than 2 weeks left in August. You're going into the September drive, and if you wanted to fire him if they didn't make the playoffs at the end of the season, fine. That's the protocol for most teams. But why are you doing it now? If you're doing it to jumpstart the team, that's not going to do it, especially at this time of year. I'm sure there had to be something philosophical between Service and the front office. I don't know, but if Seattle was doing it just to jumpstart the team, it's not going to work.
It's look, Dan Wilson, love him. Of course, if you guys going back to 1981, he played Little League in Barrington. He's from Barrington. They went to the Little League World Series, made it to U.S. Championship. They lost. I believe they lost to Derek Bell and the team from Florida, I think, that year, and they ended up finishing in 3rd place. But yeah, I know. So he's been a baseball guy his whole life. He finally gets a shot at a manager. But this is just this is kind of a weird way to do it. And like you said, maybe philosophies, maybe the front office thinks that a new voice might help. But hey, look, if you want to fire him at the end of the season, for underachieving, fine. I would have been fine with that. But to do it with just a little over a month left, it just seems a little bit odd. That's just me.
Yeah, it's crazy, but we'll see who Seattle's next manager will be in the offseason when all of it is said and done. Let's get to the rest of baseball from this past week. We'll start in the AL East. The New York Yankees, after losing the first game to the Cleveland Guardians, they take the last 2. Aaron Judge knocks out his major league leading 48th home run. Giancarlo Stanton hits another bomb as well. As we said before, the Yankees have the best offense in the league when everybody's healthy in terms of Stanton, Judge, and Juan Soto. But it looks like their pitching starting to come around. Garrett Cole picked up his 150th career victory.
Yeah, no, Luis Gil. Luis Gil does concern me a little bit because he had to leave early, but it looks like it's not too serious. So hopefully, maybe he just misses one start and that's it. I think he got like an elbow strain in his throwing arm, but. I think this is definitely something that the Yankees really needed this. So a good showing by them, bouncing back, after losing that opener in that series, and they pretty dominated too. I mean, they're 14-1 in those last 2 games. They outscored the Guardians. So look, Aaron Judge definitely make another case for the MVP. And look, Juan Soto also had a couple RBIs in the home run during that series as well. So it looks like the Yankees are starting to figure things out a little bit in that division, especially after Baltimore. they're kind of, I don't want to say they're in the same spot as the Mariners are, but they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Mets, and they did lose their opener to Houston, and they're starting to kind of worry me a little bit. Eloy has, after coming up like game bursts those first couple games since he got traded from the White Sox, he's kind of fallen off a little bit. So yeah, I'm a little concerned about the Orioles. How about you?
Yeah, I'm concerned about them too. Hopefully, this is a short stint of struggles that they're going through right now. And regarding Eloy, long as you don't put him in the outfield, as we well know, as long as you don't put him in the outfield, which I don't think Baltimore will ever do, as long as you don't put him in the outfield, he's going to be fine. Just let him stick as a designated hitter, and they'll be okay. Sticking in the AL East, the Boston Red Sox, they take 2 out of 3. They take 2 out of 3 from the Houston Astros, scoring 6 runs in the second game and 4 runs on Wednesday to take the series on the road. As we thought that the Boston Red Sox were dead, they keep coming alive. These are two teams, I'm talking about Boston and Houston, that really made the resurgence more so of Houston from their early season struggles due to injuries and whatnot. But the Boston Red Sox, we talked about them last week on the show, around this time last week on the show, Lakina. We thought they were dead in the run, or at least on the early stages of it, but they made a nice rebound taking this series on the road this past week, I should say.
Yeah, that was a nice series win for them in Houston. And like I said, I'm still not sold on Boston. Like I said, I mean, I think they're just a slightly better version of the Cubs. So I would say, like, let's do this more consistently. They play the Diamondbacks at Fenway starting tonight. So I'm, I'll wait and see if I can say that maybe they're not going to, I'm sure not going to challenge that division, but I think they'll definitely make a case for one of the wild card spots. So we'll see what happens there. Now, things are getting a little bit interesting in that AL Central between the Guardians, the Twins, and the Royals. Now, we talked about the Guardians, losing 2 out of 3 to the Yankees after winning their first game. While the Twins got a nice big series win, although they did lose in the finale against the Padres, but they did take 2 out of 3. They did take the first one, so they did end up winning the series. So things are getting interesting. Also, too, Mr. Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals had another probably trying to get AL MVP discussion. But yeah, the Royals, they they did lose. They won 2 out of 3 against the Angels. They did lose that tough opener on Tuesday, but they have been able to get things going here. Thanks to Mr. Bobby Witt Jr. and Mr. Michael Lorenzen, too, with his strong start to take that series.
Bobby Witt Jr. will kindly take some more consideration for AL MVP. Of course, you mentioned with the Twins and the Guardians losing their series earlier this week. You mentioned Kansas City taking 2 out of 3 from the half-ass Anaheim Angels. Sorry, Chris. But the longer that the Kansas City Royals stay in the playoff race, the more that Bobby Witt Jr. can make his case for AL MVP. Don't forget, you have Salvador Perez as well. And the Royals' young starting pitching, even though they're led by veteran Michael Wacha, they're still hanging in there. Will they hang on to that third spot? It's going to be a tough issue because they got to fight off Boston and maybe Seattle if they ever could get their act together. But Kansas City is proving a lot of people wrong. Like, hey, we're here to stay.
Hey, yeah, so these are getting very, very interesting in that division. Now, we talked about the Mariners. We got swept by the Dodgers. I guess that's probably another reason why Service got fired. But Houston, they win the opener against the Orioles. They did lose 2 out of 3. Again, like you said earlier, against the Red Sox. But unfortunately, the Mariners weren't able to gain any ground there. So you're still 5.5 up on top of the Astros. Is it over with in the AL West, you think?
It depends on what Seattle does within the next week or so. If Seattle has a mediocre record or below that, this division is over. We talked about the Houston Astros last year using that script to win the division by going heavily on offense. It looks like they're going to have to do the same thing this year. They do have a little bit of better young pitchers this year, especially with Hunter Brown and Arrighetti. I think Houston is going to perhaps win this division. Texas is out of it as far as the division and the wild card. We know Oakland's struggling. They'll be moving to Sacramento next year for the next 3 years until they finally move to Vegas. But as far as between them and the Mariners, I think you could almost say that you could say the Houston Astros will be AL West champs.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Keenan McGee, Steve Brown with you as we go to the National League side of things here in MLB. The Braves beat the Phillies 2 out of 3 to stay a little bit competitive in the NL East. And but I'm not worried about the Phillies just yet. I mean, Atlanta needed that series more than they did. They're still 6 up. I think they do need to kind of get more consistency in their pitching and in their hitting. I know they lost one of their setup guys for the year, so they are going to have to kind of step up in that front. But yeah, I think Bryce Harper has to get it going. Schwarber's got to get it going, and their other guys, and also their the other the step up guys have to get forward as well.
Yeah, I'm not too much worried about Philadelphia. Only thing I'm worried about them is their health right now. And like you mentioned, their bullpen is very solid on paper. Their starting pitcher is very solid. So I'm not worried too much about. The only thing I'm worried about them is injuries. So we'll see how that fares up between now and the end of the season. The Atlanta Braves, they lost Austin Riley, their third baseman, 6 to 8 weeks. And so it looks like his regular season is over. He may be available for the playoffs if the Braves make it. But how many injuries can this Braves team handle? Spencer Strider is out. Ronald Acuna Jr. is out. My guy Izzy Oblees is out. Marcell Ozuna is going to have to carry this ball club. I know they picked up Whit Merrifield off the scrap heap at the trade deadline. But how many with their manager Brian Snicker? I'm not going to say my heart doesn't go out to him, but it kind of does because with all these injuries and they don't have much talent left in their minor league system. So they got to get it done with starting pitcher and timely hitting, and that will take you to a certain point. But the way this Braves team was built at the beginning of the year, I don't know if they can be that much more dangerous than what they are right now, because you really piece of things together.
Yeah, they're gonna have to grind it out. So that's gonna be tough. We'll see what happens. Now they did, like I said, they were able to win that series against Philly, but again, they lost one of their guys for the year. Again, it looks like. So we'll see what happens there. Now the Mets had a little messiness on Tuesday in their game against Baltimore, playing a little hot potato in the outfield, but they did bounce back and win the series there. They did. Sorry, Herb, but they did win the first game, their 4-gamer against San Diego. Now we'll see if the Mets can kind of sneak in there. I don't know if they can win the NL East, but I think they can definitely make one of those wild card spots. They just got to stay consistent.
Yeah, they're starting to beat the good teams they have on their schedule. Mentioned they take 2 out of 3 from Baltimore. Pete Alonso is on fire right now. Looks like their bullpen is starting to take shape. We'll see about that. It looks like Francisco Lindor is starting to finally come around with his bat. So we'll see if the Mets can keep it up. I know they won the first games you mentioned last night of their 4-gamer at San Diego as they continue on the West Coast road trip. Very dominating performance last night by the Metropolitans.
Very dominant. So we'll see if they can keep it up there over in San Diego. To the Central, it looks like, I guess, the Brewers, even though they did lose 2 out of 3 against St. Louis, they're still they're 11 up in that division. So it looks like they might be running away and high there. So that's probably over and done with. So we'll see what happens there in the rest of the division. Now going out west, the Dodgers got a big sweep against Seattle. San Diego had an up and down week themselves. Excuse me. And the Diamondbacks still trying to stay within striking distance with the Dodgers in that NL West. They took care of business against the Marlins, sweeping them. So I think the Dodgers will still be okay. I know they're not dominating like they were supposed to, quote unquote, but I think they'll do just enough to hang on in that division. It'll be the wild card spots. I mean, which will one of the D-bats or the Padres get left out in the cold?
Here's the thing about the Dodgers, even though they have suffered through injuries as well, Dave Roberts has done a phenomenal job keeping that thing together. You still have Shohei Ohtani, who's my number 1 leader for NL MVP right now. Jason Hayward, the former Chicago Cub, he had a big walk-off hit the other day in that series against Seattle. Tyler Glasnow looks like he's finally starting to come around for that starting staff. But I'm looking at the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're on the longest road trip for them for the season after losing in Tampa Bay over the last weekend. Like I said to you on Monday, how will they respond as a young group? Well, they took care of business sweeping the Marlins. Now we'll get to the rest of the schedule in a sec, but now the challenge is on again for the Diamondbacks as they'll wrap up their East Coast road trip this weekend, playing 3 in Boston.
Well, remember too, Jason Hayward got released. He got DFA'd. So, so I guess with guys getting healthy, it looks like unfortunately someone had to be the on man. Now it's kind of the same thing that happened with Hector Neris for the Cubs. It was more financial. So we'll see if they can get it going. We'll see if the Dodgers can get it going too as we go into the schedule for the weekend in MLB, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Remember, folks, that game will be on Apple TV Plus. Those of you in Cincy and Pittsburgh. You have the Rockies and the Yankees. So we'll see. The Yankees can put a little bit of distance between themselves and the Orioles. Houston, speaking of the Orioles, they host Houston. That should be an interesting series. The Angels and Toronto, Arizona and Boston. That should be a fun one. That game will be part of the regional action with Houston and Baltimore on MLB Network. We talked about the Cubs and the Marlins. Texas and Cleveland. That should be an interesting series. And we got Washington and Atlanta. Hopefully Atlanta, despite all the injuries, can take care of some business there.
In the rest of your schedule for this weekend, Philadelphia will face Kansas City. St. Louis will visit Minnesota. Milwaukee will visit Oakland. The San Francisco Giants will take on Lakina Seattle Mariners. That's the second game tonight of the MLB regional doubleheader. And Tampa Bay will visit the Dodgers. Remember, no Fox Saturday baseball this week, but MLB Network will have your Saturday showcase with the Kansas City Royals hosting the Philadelphia Phillies at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on MLB Network. And for Sunday Night Baseball will feature the Houston Astros visiting the Baltimore Orioles. But before then, on Roku TV, we'll have Washington and Atlanta at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time.
And the other Apple TV Plus game will be St. Louis and the Twins. So again, those of you who are in St. Louis and the Twin Cities, you guys have to find other ways to watch the game. The first game tonight, because it will be on Apple TV Plus streaming there.
All right. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports. Hour number 2 continues with Miss Lauren Walsh from WSMV TV show preview the 2024 Tennessee Titans in the AFC South, and we'll get into a little college football talk with her as well. And Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, will join us as well. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean,
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid the Kid, along with my co-host, Miss Lakina McGee. Hopefully she'll join us in just a moment. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. If you have any questions or comments for us as we preview the Tennessee Titans and the rest of the AFC South and perhaps some college football talk as well, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Yours truly will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago's programming live in 11 color on Roku TV. And now to get into the preview of the Tennessee Titans for the upcoming 2024 season. Pay attention, Bears fans. This will be your first opponent on September 8th at Soldier Field as the Tennessee Titans will take on our Chicago Bears on the Lakefront at high noon. To help us preview the Tennessee Titans and the rest of the AFC South, we'll bring on Miss Lauren Walsh. She's a sports TV anchor and reporter from NBC4 WSMV TV in Nashville, Tennessee. She's making her Second City Sports debut. She will be joining us right now to give us a scoop on the Titans. Miss Walsh, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Hopefully my co-host, Miss Lakina McGee, will join us in this conversation coming up. But I want to start out with the quarterback situation. Of course, you have Will Levis slated to be the starter, but Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis are battling out to see who's going to be the number 2 guy behind Mr. Levis. I know all three of those quarterbacks have had their ups and downs in camp. If you had to be the person sitting in that GM chair, who will be the starting quarterback for the Titans today as they prepare to take on the Bears in a couple of weeks?
I would go with Mason Rudolph. I mean, I'm not the GM, of course. I'll leave that to Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan, the head coach. But I would think that based on what we've seen, Rudolph will be the choice as the backup, just because Malik Willis has had some really great moments in camp, but he's just not as consistent as Rudolph. So I think that they're going to opt for the more veteran quarterback. You hope for the consistency if he had to come in, injury or what have you, that Levis isn't going to be in the game. Or maybe it's a blowout game and you want Mason in there to kind of keep things under control for you. So I would definitely say that Mason looks a bit more ready to be the backup quarterback in a reliable fashion over Malik.
Hello, Lauren. How are you? Sorry about that.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry about that. My camera tends to act a little weird on me sometimes, but I'm sure Santoya we're happy to join us. But with all the new stuff, with all the new players and all the news that's going on here, what are the expectations for the Titans this upcoming season?
The expectations within the organization?
Oh yeah, within the team itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Brian Callahan is a guy, I mean, coming from Cincinnati most recently, who is used to running a successful offense that knows how to score points, which results in wins. So they've been pretty clear that that's the goal. They're trying to go out there and win games. There's no talk or mention even of any kind of rebuild or, hey, let's try and go 500. This is an ambitious team, front office, as well as owner and Amy Adams Strunk. And I think that's why you see some of the decisions Amy has made with bringing on Brian Callahan and being really aggressive in free agency. She gave Rand Carthon the agency to do that and bring on Calvin Ridley, bring on Tyler Boyd, who's been a really crucial piece to this offense as it develops because, of course, he's played under Brian Callahan before. They've been trying to beef up the secondary, and L'Jarius Sneed is in the mix, and Chido Awuzie. So they have gone out and gotten pieces to not only replace what they've lost, but strengthen this roster to compete in what I think is really a winnable AFC South division. And that's not a knock on the other teams. It's just to say that we saw what it looked like last year. The Texans ended up winning the division, but everybody was in the mix for about 2/3 of the season. You could really argue all the way until the end when the Titans knocked the Jags out of the playoffs.
Sid.
You mentioned that wide receiving room with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd and DeAndre Hopkins. Jaquan Jackson, the rookie wide receiver, has been making noise in camp. Talk to us about his impact, what he brings to this Titans offense.
Yeah, he's a really likable player, and it's not just because of the plays he makes on the field, but whenever we talk to him after practice, he's really open about, hey, I've been through a lot. He comes from Louisiana, where he played college football for Tulane as well. He was teammates with Titans running back Tajay Spears, and to me, those guys just seem like they're really cut from the same cloth of, I don't have any other option but to come out here and work really hard and not only earn a spot on the team, but earn snaps on the field. And so I think you see a lot of that grittiness that we've seen for a year now from Tajay Spears. And he's just such a refreshing face and person and player to be around, honestly. And Jaquan is a bit more quiet. He is a rookie, but I think you see a lot of those traits. He's very close with Tajay. And I think those are all really positive things if you're a Titans fan or if you're someone in the Titans front office, for what this player can do for you, because he has the attitude and he certainly has a dynamic skill set to be an asset on punt return or kick return. He runs a lot of dynamic routes of various distances and depths. So he's definitely an exciting piece as a rookie.
Let's switch over to the defense for a second, Lauren, because the Titans defense have always been kind of like, they make some good plays, even though you don't really know too much about it, you don't know the names. You talked about Snead earlier, Amani Hooker is another one, Cadre Diggs. So what about the defense? Can they be sort of like those defenses from the Titans we've seen in the past?
I think they certainly can be. Jeff Simmons is the biggest name, quite literally one of the biggest guys on the team, of course, on the D-line. And Jeff is really a key piece to this team. He's a big voice. He is really the leader in terms of seniority and someone who's returning, who's been around and knows how this thing is supposed to run when it's running well. So Jeff is the key to that defensive front, and rookie Tavondre Sweat looks wildly imposing next to him. So those two are a scary 1-2 punch. And then you add in, depending on what, the look is on defense, Sebastian Joseph Day, another free agent addition they brought on. And those guys are really giving the O-line some fits. The defense has been impressive throughout camp. So when the Titans defense is making headlines and playing very well, as they would say themselves, it often involves stopping the run, getting in the backfield, blowing up plays in that manner, coming off the edge really hard. So I think that unit and that front for the Titans is going to set the tone for the entire defense. I think the secondary is a bit of a question mark because Snead is on kind of a practice management plan, very similar to what they had him doing in Kansas City. So he is limited. We have not seen him, at least in the portions open to media, practicing very much. Cheeto is hurt, Awuzie, and Jamal Adams and Diggs are, again, two potential packed veterans to have in your secondary, but they've both dealt with some injuries too. We're not sure what their production is going to be like at this point in their careers. The returners, Amani Hooker and Roger McCreary, I think are as solid as you could ask for in that defensive backfield. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the secondary looks like, who's healthy enough to be on the field and be on the field consistently. But I'd put my money on that D-line to set the tone and set the standard for what the defense could accomplish.
Lauren Walsh from NBC Nashville is joining us here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago as we preview the 2024 Tennessee Titans in the AFC South. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you. Lauren, I want to go back to the first round draft pick, Mr. J.C. Latham. It looks like he's going to be an anchor of that revamped Tennessee Titans offensive line. Talk to us about his progress from the start of training camp up until now as the preseason ends as we get ready for the regular season.
I think the progress is really evident with JC, and the players as well as the coaches rave about him. And he's a really magnetic personality. He's really a funny guy. He can joke around, but he definitely has that competitive fire as well. And there was a moment where it got a little chippy. I think it was in one of the joint practices with the Seahawks. And Titans GM Rand Carthon actually came out and like personally held JC back. And he was just really funny after. He said, "Oh, I didn't even realize that was a GM holding me back for a minute there." And they were really adamant about not fighting in those joint practices. So the Titans succeeded in no full-blown fights. That was great. But yeah, so I think JC really, for a rookie, I think he has a lot of maturity and understanding of the game and what it takes to work hard and be great, even though he hasn't done that in the NFL yet, because he's the first person to tell you, hey, I played at IMG and I played at Alabama, and the standard has always been greatness, going up against the best guys across from me. So this is just the next level for him. And I think that confidence that he has at his age is really enticing for the Titans. And I would say really intimidating for people going up against him, because yes, he's going to make some rookie mistakes. Of course, he's going to get beat. But JC is looking like he's going to have a lot of potential for a long NFL career with the way he works. Of course, the intangibles of his size and his body type. And he has one of the best O-line coaches in the game, Bill Callahan, to mold him and guide him.
Well, let's talk about Bill and Brian Callahan. We all saw that moment when, Bill became part of his son's staff. Has there been is there going to any clashes between the two of them? Is Coach Bill trying to kind of sort of keep his distance, not giving Brian too much advice, or what's their dynamic like?
Definitely no clashes that we have seen or could even detect. It seems like it's a really smooth and amicable relationship where Bill Callahan is the offensive line coach. He's not trying to play dad, and he's not trying to play head coach from everything we've seen. He's trying to get this offensive line to be the best it can be and be consistent in protecting Will Levis. And that's about it. There aren't even really any questions anymore of, oh, dad and son kind of thing, because they've just made those roles very clear. So, they call Bill Big Coach, so that it's not too confusing talking about which Callahan is it. He runs a tight ship. I shoot quite a bit of the offensive line when we're able to shoot practice, and he demands absolute perfection in every rep. He is coaching people up, whether it's in 11 on 11 or in those just individual drills on, hey, I need your stance to be like this. I need your hands to be here. And he's so detail oriented. It's really fun to just watch him coach, honestly. And he is firm in that role of being the offensive line coach. Definitely not stepping on Brian's toes.
Speaking of another person that's making the headlines on perhaps stepping on toes, is a rookie linebacker Jalen Harrell. From what I read and heard, he's really making an impact on this Titans team so far. What do you expect out of him in year number one?
Yeah, Jalen Harrell, 7th round pick. So I think he's turning a lot of heads, raising some eyebrows. And we actually just talked to Sebastian Joseph Day, and he said, yeah, I couldn't believe he's a 7th round pick when I heard that, because of the way he plays. So he's really a strong physical presence off the edge, which the Titans could use. They could definitely use more depth and contribution. Harold Landry is definitely going to be one of the starters. Arden Key should be one of the starters as well. But, our Arden Key wasn't really a 3-down player last year. And so I think the Titans could definitely have a spot for Harrell on this team. And Rashad Weaver as well has been a pretty reliable backup there in the pass rusher position. But yeah, Harrell's an exciting player, and he's definitely impressed the coaches and made a case for himself to be on this roster.
He really has. I saw a little bit of him the last couple of Titans preseason games. He's been really So it definitely stood out. Now I know you probably talked with this with Sid, before I was like off, with my camera, making weird, doing weird hiccups here. But Will Levis, I mean, is he going to be the QB? I know you said Mason Rudolph could eventually get the starting job. We know Malik Willis and his story. So do you think Will Levis will be the guy throughout the season? Or I know you said Mason Rudolph probably could sneak in there. So if so, where do you think Mr. Rudolph gets in there?
Yeah, well, Levis is certainly the starter, and by all indications, the goal is to have him be the starter the entire season and be the one leading this team through close games, through comebacks, and to wins. That's the goal for them. So we had a somewhat limited sample size of Will Levis. His first start was October 29th last season. I'm not sure what week of the season that was, but we can all kind of picture the runway from there. So Levis had that breakout first game and threw 4 touchdowns, and it was really fantastic. And from that point on, kind of struggled to just find his groove and maybe not throw a 4 touchdown game every time, but just be consistent out there. So they're definitely looking for that consistency from Levis. And it's tough to say at this point. He's had his moments in camp as well. He's definitely still building the timing and in the route running and chemistry with Calvin Ridley. And that has to be something where they're on the same page for the Titans to be successful, one would think. So I'm really not sure what the pathway is going to be for Levis. I don't envision a scenario where he's outright benched. I think if that's the case, then the Titans are probably going to be in a difficult position.
We're halfway home with Lauren Walsh, NBC4 Nashville sports anchor and reporter. She's hanging out here with us on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you as we now transition over to previewing the rest of the AFC South division. Lauren, of course, you mentioned you had the defending division champion Houston Texans. You have the Indianapolis Colts in there as well. Of course, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who should have won a division last year, but they had season-ending injuries to Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk. Where do you see the Titans stacking up against those other 3 teams I just mentioned?
Well, I think the first third to the first half of the season will be really important for the Titans. They were able to still be in the mix all throughout that time last year, and I think the division is only stronger at this point, of course, assuming that key players are able to stay healthy, because the Texans won the division and they're going to be coming back as the guys to beat. But I would not be overlooking the Colts with a healthy Anthony Richardson and the bursts we saw from him last year. And they have a lot of other exciting young pieces. Of course, Jonathan Taylor coming back and Josh Downs. I covered him for a bit in North Carolina, wide out. There are plenty of weapons for that offense, and they showed they could pull it off without Anthony Richardson last year. So the Colts are I really don't think anybody is going to be like an easy win. I mean, some divisions have that team that's kind of rebuilding and trying to figure it out. And you can say, okay, well, we should either win both of those games or split it with them at least. That's really not the case in the AFC South. I think each of the 3 opponents, Colts, Jags, Texans, are going to be a tough win, home or on the road. So I think the Titans could definitely be in the mix for a wild card spot for some payoff in this division. But I think it really hinges on the chemistry of this offense and guys staying healthy as well, because we don't really know how Brian Callahan's system is going to work with these players. A lot of the people that Will Levis is throwing the ball to or handing the ball off to are new. So there are a lot of unknowns. I think the ceiling is super high for them. So I think that's the exciting part, that if everything were to go as planned and guys can stay on the field, then they could be in the mix to win the division. But it's not going to be an easy road to that.
Just to follow that up, do you think it's going to come down to the last 2 or 3 games like it did last year?
I could see it for sure. Like I said, this isn't a division with like a bottom tier team. in my opinion. And the Titans were the only team that was mathematically eliminated from the playoffs last year before the final week. And they came out and played spoiler against the Jags anyway. And I think there is more talent and potential on this year's Titans roster than last. And so by that standard, I think they should absolutely be in the mix all the way to the end. And it could surely come down to the last week for the division crown and potentially a wild card spot, depending on how all that shakes out.
Let's transition over to college football. Of course, you're right in the SEC country with the Tennessee Volunteers. Of course, now here at the University of Texas and Oklahoma joining that powerful conference. Now, the Tennessee Volunteers have been a winning program over the last few years. I'm going to break protocol right here. Two-part question. One, where do you see the Volunteers finishing up in this new SEC by the end of the season? And number two, what do you think of, what's your initial thoughts about this first year of the 12-team playoff?
Okay, so where do I think they're going to finish? Yeah, the SEC is always strong, and it's only gotten stronger with Texas and OU. So it's a bit of a question mark for me with the Vols. I think that it'll be disastrous if they're not in the top half of the league with the talent they have on paper. So, they've moved away from divisions as well. I think the Vols, maybe they were picked to finish 6th. I think best case, maybe they finish 3rd or 4th. Nico Iamaleava at quarterback is somebody that they think is really primed to be a star and kind of bring that Josh Heupel fireworks offense back to life a little bit. It dimmed at moments with Joe Milton last year. And I think that the consensus from, what I've heard or when we were out at media days talking to them is that, yeah, Nico can really be the guy to make Heupel's offense everything it's capable of, which is really imposing when it's going well. So yeah, I think they could definitely be one of those top 5 teams if they're able to put it all together. The second question, the 12-team playoff. What was it specifically you wanted to know about it?
Yeah, what is your initial thoughts? So, do you like that the NCAA expanded it to 12 teams, or would you like for them to keep would have kept it at 4?
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of the expansion, and I've covered quite a few strong group of 5 teams in my career as well that really don't get a fair shake at the 4-team format. And you have to pretty much go undefeated and win like some really tough Power 5 games that are probably all going to be on the road because you're the group of 5 team. So I think it gives teams like that a little bit more stake in the game and even more incentive with their NIL or booster people to pour into the program and make them even more competitive. And then for the Power 5 or whatever we're calling it now, that conferences are all disassembling and all that nonsense. But what traditionally has been the Power 5 conferences, I think it's exciting because you don't see a Florida State miss out like they missed out last year. And a team that deserves a shot at a playoff game and a national championship that is more than just a bowl game. I think that matters to players. And yeah, it'll elongate the season and they may need to do something to just keep player safety and durability in mind with that. But I think the format is fantastic just in terms of the expansion. So, everyone gravitates to March Madness, some people who don't even really watch basketball, because you see things like the UMBC team that beat Virginia and the 16 and the 1 seed, and they get in because of the format. And we all have that 16 seed beats a 1 seed for the first time ever moment because of that format that gives those teams an opportunity to get in. So I think it just provides a lot more opportunity and excitement in the path to a national championship. And maybe that championship feels a bit more hard earned, if you're going through more teams to get there as well certainly doesn't take away from any past titles. But I think the evolution is good.
Now you're a Syracuse girl, Lauren, and Fran Brown takes over the program there on the football side, and now you've got Stanford and California coming in. What do you think about all these word expansions? You got the Big Ten with the West Coast teams, you got ACC with a couple of West Coast teams. Sort of a two-parter for me as well. How do you think your Syracuse Orange is going to do this season in football, and what do you think about all the weird conference shuffling, if you will?
Yeah, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on Syracuse football anymore. I really pride myself on being an expert on the teams that I cover and whatever, supporting storylines in the market and things of that nature. So, yeah, I mean, I know what Fran Brown has been doing, and he's gotten even just some pretty, highly ranked and far-reaching recruits for the future that Syracuse really hasn't gotten in the past. So, I think it's an exciting time for SU football. They just renovated the seats in the dome too, actually. So that program has been ascending, maybe not in a totally linear manner, but it's definitely been increasing in the dedication, excitement, and attendance from fans and things like that. So, I mean, I'm a fan of what I've seen from Fran Brown, and I think he's going to have a good foundation for success. Now, what's success going to look like in the context of the conference in future years, if that's even a thing anymore, I'm really not sure. I don't know. I covered the ACC a lot in my last market before Nashville, and kind of in ACC country in Winston-Salem, and I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that in that sense, maybe I'm a conference purist because I really love the history of all the original members, but Syracuse was an added member to the ACC. And I thought there were some great moments and battles and matchups that came from Syracuse and Duke basketball, or even Syracuse and Carolina. And so, I mean, I think it's good to continue innovating and expanding in college athletics, but especially as a former athlete myself, I can't help but think of a lot of the Olympic sports and the non-revenue sports, and, why is, for instance, NC State volleyball having to go all the way across the country to go play Cal. And I mean, I think the regionality of college athletics is part of what makes it so great, and part of what makes rivalries really exciting and really heated, because Kentucky fans can drive down to Neyland, or they flood to Memorial Gym when they play Vandy in basketball. They can drive down here and show out for their team and, physically be there to watch them and trash talk the other team's fans in person. And I think that's part of the identity of college athletics, that either you went to the school and it has a place in your heart because you spent so much of your formative years on that campus and being part of that whole identity that comes with the university, or you grew up in that area. And a lot of schools like Arkansas, there isn't a pro team in that state. Alabama and Auburn have a similar situation and following, and people are going to live and die by that team because that's their home. It is the home team. And that's why I think the regional aspect is so key to why people are screaming their heads off for college games in a way that I don't really see for many pro games I cover of different sports too. So I think it's unfortunate that it's so far stretching and widespread that element could be lost or diluted. And I don't know, maybe there's a way that things are going to kind of overcorrect or bounce back to a bit more of a centered approach with conferences. And after all, they were named for regions of the country, large in part, at one point in time. Maybe go back to the regional aspect. I feel for the people in Pac-12, losing out on certain rivalries and drivable games up there too that used to be big conference events.
All right, that's been Lauren Walsh from NBC4 in Nashville, Tennessee. She's a sports anchor and reporter. And Lauren, I know we're running out of time here, but we definitely have to bring you back on our program in the future. We had to talk about your background growing up in Boston, watching all four of those pro teams who were winning championships. Of course, me and Lakina, of course, are from Chicago, and we walk around with pride because we grew up in the 80s and 90s with Michael Jordan winning those 6 titles with the Bulls. And we'll like I said, we'll get into that the next time we bring her on. But before we let you go, tell us how we can follow you on social media.
Oh, sure. Yeah. My Twitter is at LawWalsh10, which the law is LAU. That's kind of my nickname and the way people pronounce my name in Boston. I realize it's not how people pronounce it in the rest of the country when I went to school in Syracuse. So yeah, Law Walsh 10, LAU, Walsh, WALSH. And I think my Instagram is LAU_Walsh. So that's where you can find me.
Cool. Again, Lauren, thank you so much. No, go ahead, Sid, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Keep up the great work, and we'll definitely have you back on again.
Yeah, thanks. Great to virtually meet you too. Appreciate the time.
You too. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you very much.
Keep up the great work.
Success.
Thanks.
All right. That was, of course, as Sid said, that was Miss Lauren Walsh from WSMV, the NBC affiliate down in Nashville. Sid, we got our other girl of KXRB, Christine Manika, on deck. Coming up next, we're going to do some sports media news. We'll even more college football talk, as there are quite a few games on the docket this weekend. So, Lakina McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Our girl Christine Manika coming up right after this. You're listening and watching Sport Zone Chicago. Stay right there, guys.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things, none of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Makina McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
Let's not waste any time, Lakina. This is our last break of the show for today. So if you have any last minute questions or comments, this is our grab bag segment. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's not waste any more time. She's been on deck. She's Argo Yoko from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She is Miss Christine, the Queen of Manika. What's up, Christine?
Yay!
Hi guys, how are ya?
We're doing great. How about you?
How about you?
We're doing great.
Good.
Watch out for that bread truck.
Yeah, really.
All right, Christine. The Bears finish their preseason undefeated. Have you seen any of the? Did you see any of the game last night against the Chiefs? And what have been your impressions from last night's game with some of the second stringers?
Gosh, let me tell you, I tried everything to watch this game, and I kept on getting the error message that it wasn't in my region. So I tried, but thank goodness for Twitter, I was able to see a lot of the highlights. I watched a couple of things on YouTube too. Tyson Bagent still looks pretty good. I mean, that is a solid second string quarterback we have right there. Potentially, in case Caleb needs a break or God forbid something happens, he's a pretty good guy. And I liked what I was seeing out of the second string too. There's something different about this team this year. And I don't know if it's because a lot of the coaching staff is fighting for their lives or if it's just the new energy that these young rookies are bringing in, like Caleb Williams. But so far, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about the defense? We talked about this group last year finishing strong with that 7-10 record, but the backups in particular these last couple of weeks, I've been very impressed with on that side of the ball.
Absolutely. Getting those picks during the game last night, that was pretty impressive. And again, I had to remind myself that this is the second string. You didn't have really Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, those types of guys out on the field yesterday. But as far as I'm concerned, they look pretty solid.
Well, and the great thing about it is that, you're seeing, like we've been saying, we talked about it earlier, so you're seeing guys like Austin Reed. He might be in the practice squad or he might get released. Some of the other guys that might be, what do you think about Velus Jones, Christine? Do you think he gets into the 53-man or is he going to be a practice squad guy? Does he get released? What do you think?
I don't think he's going to get released. I can see him as being a practice squad guy. But that Austin Reed, there was a video that I saw on Twitter because, again, I don't have Max, unfortunately, but I saw that he was doing some karaoke in the latest Hard Knocks episode. I was on the floor. I'm like, this guy, I know that he's, a third stringer kind of lower on the totem pole, but he had everybody singing up on their feet. He got a standing ovation. And I just loved every minute of that camaraderie that I saw for whatever that 2-minute video was. So it's great to see even the guys who may not be getting playing time or potentially just being practice squad people. It's great that they're getting some little moments during this time too.
Yeah, speaking of that, the perfect transition, Christine, I wanted to talk about this week's episode of Hard Knocks, and I watched it last night. You mentioned that Austin Reed clip was part of that last night. He was singing a song by Keisha Cole she released many years ago. And
that was the song. I couldn't figure out what the song was.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a Keisha Cole song. I forgot the name of the title too, but I recognize that song. Like you said, that was part of the rookie initiation. Every rookie has to go through that, and like you say, he had his teammates rolling and right behind him, and so he carried himself on very well. But also, Lakina, I don't know if you saw the episode this week, but you noticed last night a couple things. One, I want to talk about the we talked about before that they'll probably use this program to promote the stadium. You notice that they use they talk about the table only for the I wanted to get your comment on it, Lakina.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, they did they did talk a little bit about the CEO. I guess they were trying to kind of like get maybe a little bit of trying to a little bit of a talk to Governor Pritzker and the rest of the Illinois legislature to see if maybe they can kind of get it going there. But yeah, it'll be interesting though. But also too, we talked a little bit about Tyson Bagent, and of course his dad Travis is a champion, a championship arm wrestler. And we saw that clip during during Bagent's pro day. That was Tom Pelissero, of course. Who I think it was like this. I don't know if it was last year, but yeah, I think it might have been last year where he beat him in arm wrestling. He talks a lot of trash.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Travis. He has his own show, I think, because he's quite a character. So he kind of misses quality there. But yeah, I thought that was probably one of my favorite moments. But also too, what's interesting because you haven't heard me swear words during the show.
I was just gonna bring this up, Lakina. I was just gonna bring it up. Do you want to say it or should I say it?
No, go ahead. Your delivery is a lot better than me with that. Yeah, you say it.
I think it's so cool how the guys are towards not just the McCaskey family, but Virginia herself. There was an article that I read, and people were asking what's up with the, less profanity, just not really having that kind of locker room talk. And out of Virginia. Yeah. Oh, did you lose me?
Yeah,
we have you back now.
Yeah. Keep repeat what you were trying to say. I think you went in and out a couple of times.
Sorry. Did you hear me say it's great to see the guys that want to show respect not just for the McCaskey family, but also for Virginia when it comes to not using the locker room talk and whatnot. I think that's so cool. It just shows the respect that all those players have for the family and for the organization itself. And again, it's awesome to see that.
Yeah, and I think that was go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was a request from the McCaskies in particular to portray the Bears in a certain line. Yes, we know that foul language goes on everywhere, but remember too, as we talked about before, the teams that are featured on these programs like Hard Knocks, they are in total content control. So the Bears really have done a good job in portraying that image in that front. Also, just to give a wrap up on this week's episode of Hard Knocks, you mentioned they finally featured Tyson Bagent's dad. Like you said, he's a character. He can get his own reality TV show if he really wanted to. Also, they focused on the rookie punter from Iowa, Torrey Taylor. And for him navigating through downtown Chicago, he definitely needed that GPS system to get to last Saturday's home game against the Bengals.
Yeah, he didn't know where he was going. He doesn't want Crocodile Hunter or Crocodile Dundee. I mean, look, for those of us, us 80s kids, that was a movie back in the day. Hopefully Paul Hogan's doing well. I know he hasn't been the best of help lately, but yeah, I mean, I don't get what they're trying to do with the lack of language. But this is actually the same network that showed The Sopranos, showed Arliss, showed Entourage. I mean, the swearing, up and down. I get it. I get what they're trying to do, but yeah, it just seems a little bit too unauthentic. I know there's some swearing going on at various points, but yeah, but again, that's just me. This is just my opinion, but it's fine. I get it.
Yeah. Any other? What else did I see from Hard Knocks this week? Oh, they showed some of the film of the joining practice they had last week between the Bears and the Bengals before last week's preseason contest at Soldier Field, and that field, even though it was up in Lake Forest, that field was very slippery, and I'm surprised no one seriously got hurt. I don't know if you saw that clip where DJ Moore slipped and fell, and he was trying to catch the ball. I was like, I'm surprised no one got hurt. Thank goodness no one got hurt. But they also showed the clip before the practice that Matt Eberflus was warning his team, if I see any fighting, you're going to be thrown off the field immediately. You're going to go to the conditioning room. So, but both teams are practiced hard, and it was a clean practice. And it looks like the Bears, they know that the cameras are around, but it looks like they're taking it in with good start. Remember, I was worried about remember, this Bears team is still a young team. I thought they were going to be worried a little bit too much on putting on the show because of the Hard Knocks cameras being around. But it looks like they've been used to it, and they're just going about their daily business.
Yeah, I mean, nothing, nothing like too scandalous happened. I guess if that's usually don't see those things happen, on Hard Knocks. So, but I guess as long as nothing, weird or, nothing too nefarious, I guess that's a win. I guess that's a win, I guess. So we'll see. But the last episode will be next week. Of course, it'll be on HBO on Tuesday, and of course, you can stream it on Max. And I'm sure some of the clips will be on YouTube as well. I'm sure the Bears social media page will have some of the clips up. So if you don't have Max, you can still watch it on other ways.
And the Bears premiere episode from a couple weeks ago, the highest rated premiere episode of Hard Knocks in the last, I believe, 5 years.
Wow.
Interest. More interest. Okay. Yeah. Not a big surprise. Not surprised. So like I said, we'll see. I mean, look, I'm sure once the mid-season one with the AFC North, that'll be interesting too. So we'll see. Everything looking good for Hard Knocks. So I know the Giants won. The pre-season one that they did well. So I think Bears, Monsters of Midway, I guess. So we'll see. I'm sure the last episode will get some decent ratings as well, I think.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago on the hashtag football hashtag Friday Fun Edition. Football Friday will be coming to you in a couple of weeks. Well, hashtag Friday Fun Edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. It's Christine. Christine, we talked about this off the air last week. I want to bring our conversation on the air this week since we have you. I went to my second Bears game ever, and of course, the atmosphere was great. It was hype. And the biggest ovation was given to Caleb Williams when he came out on the field for warm-ups, and you could tell that this Bears fan base, as we know, they're starving for something great to happen, and many of the fan base putting their faith in Caleb Williams. I wanted to we talked off air last week about the last time you went to the Bears game. Talk to us about your experience of attending your first Bears game.
Well, boy, that was a different time where people were more upset at the Bears than giving the players standing ovations. I'll tell you that. But it was a while ago. Yeah, it was a while ago. It was back in it was my senior year of high school where my dad took my sister and I to a preseason game. And it was an interesting time for the Bears, to say the least. There really wasn't any too big of standouts during that time period. I think they were still kind of in that ever-growing rebuild stage. But Sid, I'm more curious about how people reacted to Simone Biles' Green Bay Packers jacket.
Oh, brother.
That's another thing I wanted to bring up. They had a clip of her on that Hard Knocks episode this week. She said she was going through it because you mentioned, Christine, she was at the game supporting her husband, Jonathan Owens, a backup free safety. And she says, some people on Twitter is always upset. They had a clip of her scrolling through her phone, and of course she wore a jacket that had Green Bay logo on it. Because remember, Jonathan Owens did play for the Packers last year, and I heard a couple of people on both radio stations this week talking about, well, the Bears should give her a jacket because of it. We know that's Green Bay. The Bears are a rivalry. We get that, but someone should have told her not to wear that coat. I was like, she's supporting her husband. First of all, I'm all down for the Bears-Packers rivalry, but you shouldn't have to go after her like she committed treason. That's just me.
You know what? I think I'm on the side of the people for this one, Sid. You can't go into Soldier Field with a Packers jacket on. I get it. You're supporting your husband. but I know she's got a whole bunch of other stuff that she could have worn that didn't have the Packers on it. So I think she made a very bad judgment call in that regard. It's great that she was out there, especially after winning her medals in the Olympics. But come on, you got to know that you were going to get a little bit of heat for that.
Well, maybe they haven't hooked her up with any Bears like gear or anything like that. Maybe they'll do that now. I guess the marketing people.
Yeah, whoever the marketing people are for that, drop the ball for sure.
Yeah, that was a nice jacket though. I guess I'll say that I like the colors because if you saw what she did that.
Stop it, Lakina! Stop it! Don't compliment. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It's a nice jacket. Plus, it was cool that day. So I'll defend her on that. Now they
could have worn a different jacket, Lakina. Don't defend it. Don't defend it.
I'm trying. Sorry, Simone. I tried. I was outnumbered here, but look, it was nice that she supported her husband. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of her, in the home games this year. So, it's whatever. It's okay.
Oh boy, she never learns, Sid. She never learns.
Come on, I'm trying to give Simone the benefit of the doubt. I mean, look, she still has that big, cast from her. The calf injury obviously is still bothering her a little bit. She had that big old cast on it, so but hey, it is what it is. I mean, let's give her a little bit of a
I will say I didn't know it was a Packers jacket until someone took a close-up picture of her, and I'm like, what is that? Is that a G on the jacket? Wait a minute, she's wearing a Packers jacket? So until someone pointed it out, I didn't even notice it right away.
We're hanging out with Christine, the Queen Manika, right here on from KXRB, right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you. Let's get over to baseball quickly, Christine. The White Sox did something that they rarely do. They won a game out on the road against the San Francisco Giants.
I saw that.
Garrett Crochet unfortunately did not pick up the victory, but he pitched 4 innings, struck out 4, walked 1 batter. And the White Sox this past Wednesday scored 4 runs in the 9th inning to bring home the win. I'll be honest with you, Christine, I'm going to the game tomorrow because of the promotions. But as far as on the field, we have, I believe, 6 weeks left of this, Lakina.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, outside the promotions and the fans that I talk to, as far as the crap on the field, I cannot wait for this to be over. What say you?
I mean, yeah, it's time to move on. I think Grady is definitely a candidate to look out for when it comes to that general manager position, just because of how well the team has reacted to him. But I'm with you. It's time to wrap this season up and work on next year already.
7 more weeks, I guess. I think 7 more weeks, something like that. 6 or 7 more weeks until. Oh God, it can't come soon enough. I guess if you're like.
I mean, it doesn't help that Michael Kopech is apparently doing really well with the Dodgers. So that just shows you we just need a new coaching staff.
Yeah, he's been. I think he has one of the lowest ERA, I guess, among relievers in the league.
Of course.
Since he got traded. So, that's another person that's happy where they're at now. Real quick though, guys, we didn't get a chance to talk about it earlier, but Joey Votto, of course, a couple of days ago announced on Instagram that he's retiring. Played for 17 years, 7-time All-Star, 2010 NL MVP, a Gold Glove, OPS of 920, and 64.4 WAR average. So you guys. Hall of Fame, Joey Votto, a Hall of Famer. Christine, I'll start with you. Do you think he is?
He's had a great career with an organization for so long, and even in the league in general, 17 years, 17 seasons, that's a long time. I think it's got potential. I definitely do.
I think he's borderline at best, Lakina. I think he's going to have to wait a while because, of course, there's other people ahead of him in his position. They'll in terms of numbers in years, not so much the years, but the better impact. So if he gets in, he's going to have to wait a while.
Yeah, I think so. I think he does get in, but I think he'll have to, maybe we have to wait maybe 3 or 4 years. So, but yeah, I think maybe he does some television because I remember he said that when the Reds decided to move off from him, he did get a lot of television offers. So if he decides to go the TV route, I mean, he's definitely going to have a lot of. I know Fox going to want his services. I know MLB Network, since it's scheduling wise. I know he's still close to his mom in Toronto, so that's a little bit closer in New York. We'll see if maybe ESPN makes a play for him, but yeah, I think he definitely has he can host his own podcast if he wants to too. So yeah, this guy's living for Mr. Votto on the media side.
Yeah, come hang out with us on Second City Sports. We'd love to have him on as a guest. Just saying.
Yeah, that too. Just putting it out there. All his people. Good at to call his people.
All right, look. Yeah. Look, Kina, I know we're running up short on time. I know we have a couple minutes left, but this is your favorite time of the year. College football is starting tomorrow with week 0. I know everybody else will start next Thursday through Sunday with Labor Day weekend, but tomorrow's the big game on ESPN at 11 a.m. Chicago time. I believe this game is in Dublin, Ireland. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Lakina.
Yep,
Number
right.
10, Florida State. They'll play Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I know game day is going to be out there too, so I guess I don't know if you're going to see Coach Saban dressed up like a leprechaun. I don't know if you're going to see that, but yeah, it should be an interesting matchup. So we'll see how Florida State reloads from being left out of the playoff last year. So that should be a fun matchup out there in Dublin. It's going to be like a primetime matchup too. It's going to be like 6 or 7 o'clock at night there. So that place is going to be rocking. So they're playing at Aviva Stadium, which I think they play a lot of their rugby games there. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to have a nice crowd there.
Christine.
Oh, I think we.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the college football.
Yeah,
lost
she was
her again.
Yeah,
we lost her again. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, okay. But there's like 4 or 5 games on the docket too. You got Montana State and New Mexico. That'll be at 3 o'clock on FS1. You got SMU and Nevada on CBS Sports Network at 7. And of course, a late Hawaii game. You gotta have one of those, right? You got Delaware State and Hawaii at almost 11 o'clock. So if you want to, well, I don't know. I don't see if it being on television. I'm sure you can stream it somewhere. But yeah, that should be a fun. But yeah, so week 0, it should be some fun matchups. But yeah, look, we'll preview the other big matches coming up on Monday. But yeah, I mean, week 0, yeah, college football is here. One of my favorite times of year. Now, Christine, are you with us? I think we're still
she's
having.
not. Yeah, I think we lost her because I was going to ask her about even though the game is on next week. Her Fighting Irish ranked Notre Dame. They ranked number 7th in the country. They'll take on number 20 Texas A&M, but that's next Saturday night in prime time on ABC. But Lakina, as I told you, you know me, I'm not the biggest college football fan in the world, but I am intrigued this year because of the new 12-team playoff in college football. Will we have a 3-loss team in there? I know you brought up it could be a possibility of having a 4-loss team. I don't know if you're going to see that yet, but I think you may see a couple of undefeated teams. Like I said, we'll dive deeper into this next week, but you may see maybe a couple of undefeated teams in there. Of course, you talk about Oregon and Ohio State battling out for the top spot in the Big Ten. Of course, how will Alabama look this year with a new head coach? And of course, we talk about the new SEC as well, with Oklahoma and Texas being in that conference. So it's going to be exciting. I think the new Big Ten will be exciting as well, with those 4 West Coast schools with USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington joining the conference.
Let's bring our girl Christine back. Like you said, with all the new conferences, we'll see how Stanford and Cal do over the ACC. I mean, and we'll see how the new Big 12. I know Utah's there. We'll see how Deion Sanders' Colorado squad, can they bounce back after just sticking it up those last few weeks this season? The conference is like a girl Laura Walsh said earlier, because remember she played D1. She was a D1 athlete, and it's gonna be interesting to see how the travel. All these West Coast teams had to go all the way out east. So that's going to be a different dynamic. Yeah. So now that we've got you back, Christina, college football,
yes.
Yeah, what are you looking forward to this season?
Irish, of course. It was kind of funny. So a week ago, host is like, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah, we got you back now.
Okay, yes. So Notre Dame, number 7, my co-host makes fun of me because he's like, they always are ranked, but they never do anything. I'm like, that's not true. they can do something. But of course, I'm excited for them. I know Illinois, they got their first game next Thursday. And then with Ireland, I saw that Pat McAfee was in Dublin doing his show out there, and the atmosphere is so. Makes me super excited to get out there over the pond next year. But yeah, it's going to be a great college football season. I feel like very, very interested with the new dynamics of the conferences too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, are you looking forward to that 12-team playoff that's going to debut this year?
I think we lost her. I think we lost her again.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we lost her again. Oh. No, go ahead, Christine. I think we got you again.
Oh, you got me? Okay. I said if that means Notre Dame is in it, sure.
Mic drop.
Yes, absolutely. Some WNBA real quick. The Sky have a big game coming up tonight against the Connecticut Sun. You can watch that game on ION if you have it in your local cable or satellite or streaming system there. They're still but the Atlanta Dream are kind of right there nipping at their heels for that last playoff spot. So, yeah, I mean, Connecticut is one of the top teams in the league right now. So how do you guys like their chances there?
I like their chances. They got to get past Liberty, though, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. Sid?
Yeah, I think it's the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces and everybody else is just playing catch-up. I wanted the Chicago Sky to make the playoffs. It's going to be a tough road for them, but I think they're really set up great for down the road.
Yeah, they're still they're a game and a half up on the Dream, but they've been playing very well lately. They've won 3 in a row. The Dream have, so yeah, and I think they do play Atlanta. I believe in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be interesting to see what they do because they're really going to need this game if they're going to want to kind of keep it. And they really need to try to upset the Sun. They're kind of they're right there behind the Liberty for the top record in the league. So we'll see what happens with that. You got the second tournament of the playoff of the FedEx Cup playoffs right now. The BMW Championship. Adam Scott, there's a name we haven't seen in a while and heard in a while. Is in the league right now. The leader in the clubhouse down there. We'll see if he can hang on and perhaps maybe throw in a little bit of a dent in Scotty Scheffler's and Schauffele top 3 train there for the FedEx Cup standings. And I think that's about it. City Sports Media News. You want to talk about real quick before we disperse?
No, I'm good.
All right, Christine, you got anything else for us?
I'm all good to go here.
All right, with that said, you follow Matt Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X and Q is going to be in the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at Manika_KXRB on Twitter.
And that bird's still traveling with you and Chris, correct?
You know what, Sid? Breaking news. When I was updating my phone, I accidentally updated Twitter part of it. So I no longer have the bird.
Oh, darn.
Oh, boo.
Darn it. Boo.
I know. Breaking news. I messed up. I'm sorry.
Ah, darn it.
Will it be replaced by a Chicago Bear, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. I'll make a call to Elon right away.
That bird stayed around while it lasted, so probably
that's true.
A lot. So yeah, I guess there's a little bit of a win there, but of course you can catch our show Second City Sports Mondays and Fridays near 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. one more time, you can catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday, noon 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages.
Don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at Ward Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And give Ward Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And be sure to catch Second City Sports along with the other fine programming from Sports Zone Chicago live and in living color on Roku TV.
And of course, we want to thank not only our girl Christine Mack from KXRB for joining us as usual, but also our new friend for WSMV TV in Nashville, the NBC affiliate there, Miss Laura Walsh, for joining us. We're definitely going to be having her back on, especially to talk some college sports. Wherever she also played at a pretty high level, so we'll definitely get her more depth into her experiences doing that.
Yes, and we got to get her a story about growing up in Boston and watching all those teams win those championships some years ago.
Yeah, definitely. So first, Sid and Christine, enjoy all the sports, the baseball, the last of the preseason games, the golf, the soccer, WNBA, and also if you're into women's soccer, the NWSL. It's all right there. I love this time of year, folks. The college football too. We got a few games. Kind of get your little bit of a appetizer there. So just be safe out there, folks. For Sid and Christine, I'm Lakeem. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Dump Bears, holla!